Good day. My name is Ben Smith, Senate Leader for the One Bermuda Alliance. I would like to talk to you today about the different divisions that I spoke to in the Senate over the last couple of days. Firstly, I'd like to say that Bermuda's in a bad place. There are many that would prefer that we did not say that Bermuda is in a bad place. I think it's important that we let our population know exactly where we are. So, most of us will notice the behavior on our roads has changed significantly over the last few years. And you wonder, how did we get there? Well, if you do not give the correct support to the police, what you'll find is they have to come up with ways to do the coverage without the same amount of resources. So we'll have an operation to deal with what's happening on our roads instead of having continuous presence on a regular basis. That has created the thought that you can behave badly on an ongoing basis. Think about what happens when you don't have the money to resource our uniformed services. That's where we are. If you think about what's happening with our fire service, who has been in negotiations for an extended period of time because they don't feel supported. This government, because they were not paying attention to the details, had under-resourced what was happening at our airport. They would like to tell you that once the audit happened, that's the first time that they figured out that we didn't have enough firefighters to protect our airport. Everybody knows an audit is not the first time that you find out that kind of information. But think about what that means. Now, every bit of resource for the fire service has to go to the airport. Every set of recruits that we bring into this country are now having to go to the airport. So if you're under-resourced at the West, the East, and in Central, they will not be getting recruits. But if you think back to last year, we had to bring in overseas firefighters. And when we brought in those overseas firefighters, we had to give them a housing allowance of $4,500. That's the money that most people in Bermuda would love to be able to have so that they can survive under the economy that has been created by the Burt administration. So moving forward, we have to figure, are they going to continue to cut resources? What will we see that has to be moved out from the fire service, from the police service? How we are policing our waters with our regiment? What's happening at our prisons? Just last week, a prisoner attacked one of our officers. Just think of the things that you have seen in our headlines that tell you we have to make sure that our uniformed services are not only resourced, but respected. This government has continued to show a lack of respect for our uniformed services. And what the outcome of that is, we as a population who have to rely on the uniformed services, when you call 911, you're expecting them to be there and be there on time. In the future, will we see them cut? And if they do cut, will that mean that the reaction time takes longer? Do you want your loved one to be waiting an extra 30 seconds? Or will it be minutes because we've had to close one of our fire stations? Remember, they're the EMTs. They're the ones that are coming to save you when you are at your worst. This government needs to make sure they are resourcing our uniformed services so that we feel protected. Education. Education reform has been the topic from this government since 2017. It's been 6 years. Please understand, we know that this is a big topic and important to everybody in our country. But I said it in the Senate and I'll say it to the public. In education, we are not producing widgets. This is not some factory that it's okay if what comes out on the other side is not okay. These are our children. This is the future. We spend over $100 million on public education every year. Are we getting value for money? Right now, the government has started a reform process, and we will support everything they can do to make education better. But remember, we have children that are in the education system today that need to be given the full support. So my first question to the government is this: are they listening to our teachers? Because remember, the teachers don't have the ability to speak out. So we have to speak on their behalf as the opposition. And the teachers are frustrated. Every level: preschool, primary school, middle school that will soon be phased out and teachers don't know what that's going to mean for them, high school, and even at the Bermuda College. Frustration at all levels. Remember, there was a vote of no confidence not only for the commissioner, but vote of no confidence for the minister. But we haven't heard anything about that. They've continued to soldier on. And when you look in the budget book, which is the job that we had in the Senate, you see that the goals for education are below 50%. Can you imagine spending $100 million and your goal is 50%? That's disrespectful to every person in Bermuda that pays tax expecting a different result. In the last year, more and more people left public education to go to private. So now not only is your taxpayer money going to pay that $100 million bill, you're also having to pay on top of that private education. It's not good enough. We need to know that not only our money is helping us to educate our children, but more importantly, we need to know that our children are safe when they go to school. First was national security, now I'm speaking education. I'm going to put the two together. We have gangs going into our schools with 9-year-olds, attracting them into the gang lifestyle. What is the education policy to prevent that from happening? How are we going to protect our children? How many videos do we need to see of our young people fighting in school, fighting out of school? And in the last year, we've actually seen a young person, age 16, lose their life. We can never, ever allow another young person to fall prey to not only the gang lifestyle, but potentially lose their life to the antisocial behavior that's carrying on in our country. We need to have a government that is focused on how they are going to deal with these major issues, because when we talk to the community, we know the entire community is frustrated. They want to see change. They need to know that the money that's being spent is actually going to be delivered on the services that they expect. The One Bermuda Alliance will continue to work for you so that we can get to that result. Thank you.